Welcome to our final episode of NFL on the Wire, our fantasy football show exclusive to SkySports.com and on demand. I'm Laura Woods, and after an explosive week, here's a quick look back at our top 3 fantasy performers.
Breeze looking end zone, and it is caught. Touchdown, Michael Omanawanu.
Cousins rifles, end zone, caught, touchdown, Chris Thompson. And the Redskins build on their lead.
Rodgers sacked again, ball out. Picked up. Reddick, live play, touchdown.
Some huge headlines coming out of Week 16. Panthers suffered their first loss of the season to the Falcons. Jets kept their playoff hopes alive. And I won my NFL.com Fantasy League, and I couldn't have done it without the help of Mr. Adam Rank. Hello, sir. How are you?
I am doing wonderful. You see, you buried the lead there a little bit because the most important fantasy news in the entire world today is that you won your fantasy league. That's really, I know you probably don't get the news over here in America, but that's leading off our show today, is that Laura Woods captured the fantasy league title. That's all anybody's even talking about.
I love this so much. It's definitely, I mean, you did help me out a little bit. This show has helped me out massively, in fact. And funnily enough, my league has gone very quiet. Nobody's actually accepting it at the moment.
Nobody wants to talk anymore,
Nobody wants to talk
everybody
about
was
it.
making fun of you when you picked up Tim Hightower,
Yeah.
when you were sitting there with Sammy Watkins and that wasn't going so well. Oh, everybody was chatties all get out. Now all of a sudden they all disappeared. Well, this is what happens. This is what happens, Laura, when you become a champion. Nobody wants to talk to you anymore, except for me. I will always talk to you.
Brilliant. Exactly. Well, unfortunately, it's our last show, so we can't really do it much more, but we'll try. Anyway, let's talk about the big performances from the week just gone. Apart from mine, obviously, Drew Brees, Tim Hightower, as you mentioned, he actually clinched it for me. Well done, Tim. Some really big performances. Julio Jones. Let's talk about it. It was a good week, wasn't it?
It really was a big week for anybody who was playing Drew Brees, and I had him in one of my big leagues and was very excited about it because all during the week, all we heard about was the foot injury that he suffered. Was he going to start? Was he not going to play? And I went to the waiver wire and picked up guys like Alex Smith and Teddy Bridgewater and was really sweating it out. But once he said he was a go, I put him in the lineup with no hesitation. And, of course, you saw it. Huge monster game from him. And also Julio Jones had a tremendous game against Josh Norman. I know a lot of people get concerned whenever they see that tough matchup. And everybody likes to overthink these things. And there was even talk about sitting him or possibly trading him a couple of weeks ago. But I stood shoulder to shoulder with Julio Jones, and he did come through in a big way. So anybody who started him was rewarded. The Steelers, though, might have been a different case.
Definitely were. And didn't you have Ben Roethlisberger, didn't you?
Okay, all right. Yes, I had Ben Roethlisberger all over the place. Not only Ben Roethlisberger, I had Antonio Brown. Antonio Brown has been the guy, outside of Sammy Watkins, I think Antonio Brown gets discussed the most on this show because he was my first pick in pretty much every draft that I did and was really excited about his matchup this weekend going up against the Baltimore Ravens, who hadn't been able to stop anybody. And even in a rivalry game, you figured with the Steelers closing in on a playoff berth that they might show up for that one. That game might have seemed important to them, but it seemed like they wanted to be anywhere but Baltimore. But I guess if you've been to Baltimore, you would know why. But nobody wanted to show up, and if you were able to survive, I did survive in one league. Actually, I survived in both. But if you were able to survive, it was great. But if not, if you were playing in the NFL UK League, which I am now a distant memory in that one. And I would like to thank the Steelers for that.
Yeah, I know. You are a distant memory. I think you're probably 3 or 4 places below me, so I'm quite enjoying that.
Yes, that is, again. Okay, now I'm going to stop talking to you. I get it now. Now this is why. No, I'm just.
Yeah, this is it. There is more to play in the NFL UK, and I want to know who your bargain picks are for this week.
Well, I'm going to just double down on my own bad advice. I'm going to go with Ben Roethlisberger this week because the Steelers. I know. Listen, I'm going to keep going with the guys who ruined me last week. Why not? They got a great matchup this weekend going up against the Cleveland Browns. The Browns have allowed a lot of fantasy points to quarterbacks. So I think you want to look. Well, here's what you want to do. You want to find a quarterback who has something to play for. Somebody like Carson Palmer could end up not playing this week because if the Panthers clinch home field advantage throughout, then he's not going to be a pretty good option. So you want to avoid guys like that. Go with Ben Roethlisberger. At the running back position, I'm going to go with Todd Gurley. He's got a great matchup against the 49ers, who have allowed the second most fantasy points to running backs on the season. So he's a good option. Of course, I like Antonio Brown because, of course, again, doubling down on my own bad advice. But DeAndre Hopkins has got a really good matchup this week. Again, the Texans are going to be playing for something. They've got an opportunity to win the AFC South. So he's going to have a pretty good game. Brandon Weeden is he's not a great quarterback, but he's good enough to find him at least once. And he's had 117 yards and a touchdown in Week 16. I expect similar type production. And at the tight end position, I wanted to go with Jordan Reed, but unfortunately, Washington is wrapped up where they wrapped up their playoff spot. So I want to avoid him because I could see him getting some rest. So Gary Barnidge is a good start in that Cleveland game. He had 12 points against the Steelers earlier in the season. The Steelers allow a lot of fantasy points to tight ends, so he will be the guy that pretty much my lineup this week that ruined me is the one I'm just going to keep going with.
Okay, now a quick question. With quarterbacks with something to play for, Cam Newton, I mean, he wasn't very impressive last week. This week he has a big game because they are looking for the home field advantage. They're coming up against the Bucs. Do we put him back in our lineup?
Absolutely. I wouldn't hesitate at all. I know that he's going to be a little bit... He came out in his press conference yesterday and said that, or on Sunday, that said that he was a little bit embarrassed by the team's performance. They were really disappointed they didn't get a chance to go for that 16-0. And so I expect the Buccaneers to get the wrath of it this week. Start Cam Newton anywhere you can. He's a great bargain. He's a $3 million quarterback, so he's a good play. So I say don't hesitate to do it. He's great across the board.
And now, it pains me to do this, Adam, but that is the end.
Does it really?
That's the end of the show. That's the end of our last show as well. You're not done yet, are you?
I'm gonna find my way into that secret little fake control room you guys got back there. I'm gonna hide out there.
Excellent. It is a fake control room, I have to tell you.
Did I pull back the curtain too much? I'm sorry. Ignore
really
all that.
Stop
There's really stuff going on.
Now listen, it's been a really fantastic season, and we really hope we've managed to help you in some way. Now, good luck for the last few people still involved this week. Regretfully, as a goodbye from us, and we'll see you next season.
Sadly, give the royal wave.
Oh, the royal wave. So sad.
Enjoy Sky Sports Live on all screens, on the go, and the best bits on demand.